I'm
Thank you so much. Hi, Carla. How are you?
well. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
That is an
So,
amazing sweater, by the way.
oh, thank you so
Is it
much.
vintage?
It's like, yeah, it's like knit, but it's
Yeah,
super cozy.
it almost has like an old school, like a Chanel cut and color. It's
Ooh.
very beautiful.
I wish it was Chanel. Unfortunately, it's not.
It's kind of always better when it's not, by the way.
True, true. So we were chatting today about a new crime thriller series called Leopard Skin coming to Peacock on November 17. So let's start off with how did you get involved with the series?
Well, I think what's probably key to say first off about the series is that there's an elements of it that are crime thriller, and it's sort of like a story within a story within a story, which is cool because you have sort of these crime thriller elements. It follows two women who live in a secluded home in the middle of a Mexican beach, a beach in Mexico, and I play this character Alba Fontana, and Heide Janssen plays Bari Ferrara, and these two women live there, and it's a bit of a mystery what their relationship is. And one day, these three criminals who are in the middle of a diamond heist and things go terribly wrong break in, and there is also some untimely guests for dinner that night, and so the entire thing becomes this very high stakes mind game scenario inside this house. And the way that this came about for me was that Sebastian Gutierrez, it was right in the middle of the pandemic and people had been back to shooting, but everybody was covered in masks the entire time. And you know, just, um, it was a very difficult experience to be able to be creative within it. And obviously all the safety measures that had to be taken were being taken. But he said, what if I could create something where we could film with a small enough group that once we got there and that the locations and the story could be conducive to being in one place where once everyone tested negative, nobody left, and we just stayed and filmed the entire time. And that is what we did. So that is how it came to me. And I think it would have been interesting to shoot and fun and beautiful to shoot in a gorgeous location if it was something that was just a silly comedy or something. But what made it the most profound experience that it was, and I think what makes the show very unique and as strong as it is the fact that we had a show that required all of us creatively, and we were also in an environment that was so conducive to creativity.
Right, absolutely. And what would you say drew you to this character in particular? What about the story was compelling to you?
Well, the story really does, one of the main themes is identity. And that's always curious and interesting to me at this point in my life. And also just that these women bonding over the specter of this very powerful man who is since dead but still really affects them, and they're sort of untangling themselves from being perceived as a reflection of him, and who are they really now. And so that was really intriguing to me. And I just had never gotten to play a woman like Alba, a woman who sort of so fearlessly goes into her shadow, to hopefully come out into the light. So I found that to be a really, really interesting journey as an actor.
Right. And you touched on this a bit, but the cast of Leopard Skin is predominantly female. Women have often been underrepresented in the crime thriller genre. We've seen with like shows like Killing Eve and The Sinner that it's changing a little bit. There are more women taking on leading roles in this genre. Can you speak to why female representation in the crime thriller genre is important? And how did working with the predominantly female cast impact or affect your experience filming the show?
Well, it's interesting because I would say that Jet, which I also did with Sebastian Gutierrez, and Gentry White and Heite Janssen are both in Jet. That was a true crime thriller, like straight up. And the lead character I played, named Jet, was much more like what you would characteristically have seen, a young Clint Eastwood in, or a Matt Damon in, or you sort of like a man. So that one was really interesting to play with those preconceived notions. This has crime elements to it, but this really is also just such a character piece, there's a hidden, forbidden love story within it, and also Maru's character, Amelia Natalie Eve's character Maru, is who I had done Haunting of Bly Manor with, is, you know, she's really butting up against what is her relationship with the Philip Winchester character. And so I think in this particular case, it's absolutely an exploration of female psyche in a lot of ways. And that's probably the more pertinent, appropriate kind of, you know, reference point for it. But I also think we just rarely have ever gotten to have, you know, a predominantly female cast exploring these issues together either. You know, I mean, I think that to me, what the difference is, you know, there was always sort of like, oh, women, you know, oftentimes are in a piece in reference to a male character. Then it started to be like, okay, women can be more. And obviously in the 50s, there were also women who were the leads in movies and they were the box office stars, you know, but then that sort of dipped into a different phase and it became more male dominant in that way. And so women were, you know, female characters were in reference to male characters. Then it was like, okay, they can be the lead and they can be badass, or we can put them into action things and they can be super tough and strong and cool, but we're still not going into the fact that they also are confused and don't always make the right decisions and are flawed and all of these things, and still relevant, and still, even because of all those things, more interesting to watch, more interesting to explore. So for me, I think the significant thing about this is that within a really entertaining piece where the stakes are really high and there is action and there's all those things, you're also really like unpacking a story within a story within a story, where you get to the heart of it, which is ultimately about love and identity and self-discovery. And that's really interesting to me, because I don't think that we can be the most fully realized women without accepting our shadow. And that also needs to be included in storytelling, you know?
Right, absolutely. I saw a couple of the episodes through screeners, and the characters are so interesting and have so much depth to them.
Yeah.
So what would you say was the most challenging part of filming the show or playing your character?
I think the most challenging thing with Alba, you'll see as you get further along, is she does some things that are pretty intense. And I think one of the main challenges always is not to judge your character, because we all see ourselves as the protagonist of our own story and as the hero of our own story. I don't think she actually even behaves from a place that is out of cruelty, but she is in a position where she is given a certain kind of autonomy and power by Batty that she is unsure how far she can go with, or what parts of her need that. And I think that it's an interesting thing to explore, and a scary thing, and therefore a challenging thing, which is if you were in an environment with a person that adores you and would do anything for you, what would you ask? And if you weren't being watched, how would you behave? And so one of the things with this that I love is that it does go deep into the shadow, and ultimately the show ends and comes to a place of like real deep belief in humanity. And that's important to me. It's important to me in the world right now and in all the ways. And I think it was very intentional on Sebastian's part. You know, he's never afraid to go dark, but he is always an optimist in terms of connectivity, and the fact that, you know, we can go deep and come out the other side, and we'll probably be better people for it.
Right, absolutely. And then last question, in general, what can viewers expect from Leopard Skin?
Well, I think what's cool about this piece is you cannot expect where it's going to go. Everyone who I have talked to who has seen it has said, I had no idea where it was going. And that's always a good thing. But I think what's nice is it's got, you know, it's got some real thriller elements I love a good thriller, for people who love a good thriller. And then it has, again, this family of women who ultimately kind of find themselves coming together and realizing how they have perhaps lived in the shadow of this man and are now figuring out who they are. And you also have the most beautiful location ever. So it's just so fun to watch, because you're just like, oh my gosh, I'll take 4 hours there anytime.
Yeah, totally. It was so beautiful. The cinematography was so beautiful in the show.
Extraordinary cinematographer. Yeah.
Absolutely. So that was my last question. Thank you so much for chatting with me,
Thank you
Carla.
so much.
Of
Have a
course.
wonderful one.
You too.
All right. Ciao. Bye.